Hi guys, Sarah here from Highland Haven Australian Shepherds and Highland Haven Dog Training, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of Dog for Thought. Joining me is my co-host, daughter, and dog trainer extraordinaire, Sophie.
Hi everyone.
So it's been a while, Soph. When did we end last time?
Right before we were about to move in like October, I feel like.
No, really? Could that be? No, it must have been like early September.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
In the fall.
Before Jacob went back to school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so it's been, 3 or 4 months, and we're back. We've done a lot in that 3 months. You want to give us an update in Dogland?
Yeah, so we finished the kennel. We set up the whelping room.
Oh, wait, no, back up. First we moved.
Well, we moved, yeah. We moved, and then that took forever, and I forgot how miserable moving was. And then we had to deep clean the house. And then we built the kennel and redid the driveway and redid the front steps and painted up in the whole house and had to deal with Twiggy and bred a dog and
had Thanksgiving, had Christmas.
Yep. So we've been busy.
So I guess the most important part of that is that we moved.
Yeah.
Finally. After spending 18 months looking for a new house, we finally found this one, and it took 4 months for us to close on this house. For those of you who don't live in New York, you don't understand the pain involved in buying and closing on a house in New York State. It's just a nightmare. But we finally did, and I agree with you. I feel like moving is like childbirth. You know it's bad, like you remember that it's bad, but you think you're prepared, and then you do it again and you're like, oh no, this is way worse than I remember.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Way worse. I forgot all of this horrible stuff.
I mean, to be fair, the first move that we had, I was at school, so I packed my whole room up,
and I then went back to school.
Yeah, so I was chilling. But this move was, I feel like, a bigger move, and I thought we were prepared because we already moved like 4 years ago. How much stuff could we collect in 4 years? Apparently, a lot.
The answer to that is a lot. Yeah.
So, and then we have more dogs.
And we moved, this was I wouldn't say this house was a fixer-upper, but definitely needed a significant amount of work. And we knew that going in. Mm-hmm. But that just makes it even more complicated. So, I'm not afraid of doing the work. But when your dad and I walked through the house on the day of the closing, after we closed and we had the keys and we came back and walked through it, I have to say, I was like, oh my God, what have we done?
Yeah.
There was so much work that needed to be done.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the logistics of moving 9 dogs plus training dogs, getting the training area set up in the new house so we could seamlessly move the dogs over, plus having a place for our dogs so that they would feel comfortable and calm during the physical move, which took 2 days. Yeah, that was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a lot on everybody.
For those people who are like, oh, why did you take training dogs during the move? It was so tedious. It was like we were supposed to have a moving date, and then it kept getting pushed back and pushed back. So we had like a week to 2 weeks of no dogs that we purposely made a time slot for, and the move kept getting pushed back and back and back. So we went right over that time slot. And what are we supposed to do? Like not work?
Yeah, so we just had to, because we didn't know when we were going to close and / then move. It was just a matter of, we're just going to have to make it work.
And we did, and we had a really good group of dogs, so it was fine.
Yeah, the dogs, I think, had it easy.
Yeah, super easy.
Yeah, they all moved pretty seamlessly, and our dogs on the initial move did well. Mm-hmm. But it's been a move. It's been a tough move for them.
Yeah, more than I thought. I thought they would be all right, but they've been, struggling here and there.
No, it was tough for them.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that I was so consumed by fixing up the house, so completely consumed by it, because we had to have some construction done right away.
Inside and outside and fencing.
Right, because we have 4 acres now, and we set up a tremendous amount of fencing. We spent an obscene amount of money on fencing. So that had to be done pretty much right away, because I wanted the dogs to be able to go outside, the training dogs and our own dogs, safely.
Yep.
So there was that. I think one day we had, I don't know, 4 different contractors here working on 4 different projects at the same time.
Yeah. It was like
crazy.
fencing, driveway, electrician. And then we had the boiler guy. We had like,
Yeah, maybe it was the oil tank guy.
and the problem is I'm so territorial. So like there was just men everywhere and there was nowhere to escape except for being in my room. And even then the electrician would like come in my room and do stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, this needs to be over.
But I wanted to, well, we were kind of on a time crunch for weather too. You know, we were in the fall and I really wanted to get done, particularly with the driveway and the paving.
Yeah.
Prior to Thanksgiving, because that's when the paving companies close. So yeah, it was tough. But to get back to the dogs, I was very consumed by all of that. So they weren't getting the kind of exercise they're normally used to. Plus, they were adjusting to a new routine, a new house. And there was some sort of virus went through our own pack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was dealing with 9 dogs with intermittent diarrhea for like 3 straight weeks. And I really wanted to just crawl in a hole and die at that point.
Yep.
And it's so hard when you have 9 dogs because you don't really know who is currently suffering from the loose stool. Like,
and we
which
had no
one?
tub.
And
We had no tub.
Yeah,
The dogs weren't groomed. They were a mess for like a month.
Yeah, they didn't get bathed for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Or groomed. So they looked a mess. They weren't getting walked because I was just consumed with just logistically getting us set here. They were a little bit physically sick. They had some little virus that they couldn't seem to kick. I'm not sure what that was about. I don't know if it's like different foliage maybe in the yard that they were eating. I don't know what it was. Or if it was just stress. I don't know, but it was rough. It was rough. I mean, we did, and when you have 9 dogs, what you do is you just take 1 or 2 to the vet, and they're like the symbol, the stand-in for all the other dogs. You don't take all 9. You take 1 that's symptomatic, and you run a stool sample, and you get them checked out, and then you apply that to the other dogs if you find anything. And of course, we didn't. I thought maybe they had Giardia.
Yeah. And we kept testing like each dog, and
so I had them tested for Giardia. I wormed them. I worm them every 6 months anyway. And I was like, maybe I missed something, so I wormed them. That didn't help. It was just horrible. Finally, what ended up making us turn a corner is that those dehydrated carrots, which are great if any of you struggle with dogs with loose stool. I think the brand is called Oliwo. It's a strange, I think they're Polish or something. It's Olewo, Oliwo. And they're just dehydrated carrots. And they're in these little, they look almost like rabbit food.
Yeah, rabbit pellets.
And you have to soak them for like 15 minutes. And then they just turn it back into dehydrated carrots. Well, not dehydrated anymore. Hydrated carrots at that point. And then you put like a tablespoon in each dog's food and it just cures the diarrhea. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, without using any medication or having to spend all this money because we have all these dogs. We can't put them all on metronidazole. And then even then we had like some of them on metronidazole, and as soon as they would get off metronidazole, they would have diarrhea again. So it's kind of like a good solution that you can have for like a long period of time.
Helps them sort of get through the process. So I had them all on the carrots for like 2 weeks. And then we started slowly changing. The 2 that took the longest were the puppy, Tula, and Vivi for some reason.
Vivian,
Yeah. But now they're all good. We did finally get our tub installed. Thank you, Reno.
Yeah.
So
3rd time's a charm.
So 9 dogs. I think we did like 3 baths a day.
3 baths a day.
For 3 days until we got through the whole group. And then, the training dogs went home. The training room got done. So it got a little bit more... I got my arms around it a little bit better. And once the dogs started exercising more and getting used to the house, then everybody settled in. But it was harder on them than I had anticipated because last time we moved, it was so seamless.
Yeah. And we had less dogs.
We had fewer dogs, and we didn't have to deal with the training dogs. And I was also working full time, so that forces a regular schedule every day. Mm-hmm. And without that here, we work from home. We had people coming in and out of the house every single day for full 2 months.
They were really good about that.
No, they were great. Yeah. And actually the dogs, it was good for them, in a way to sort of desensitize people coming and going for such an extended period of time for them.
I mean, they were working right outside the the dog window.
After a while, they got tired of barking.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think was possible. Yeah, so it's been tough for them, but now they've settled in. We worked on getting our training room set up, which turned out really well.
It's beautiful.
There's a video of it on our Instagram if you guys want to check that out. We're really proud of that. So we have very secure enclosures for boarding and training dogs, and also a really big indoor play area, which I'm super excited about. That's been wonderful.
Yeah, because anytime we would have to do like traditional training, we would have to go out in the cold and do sits and downs or whatever. If we had more than 2 dogs, and even then, we would have like a group outside, and I would be outside in the cold. And then you would be taking 1 dog inside and training them inside.
Yeah, because we had such a small setup at the other house.
Yeah.
So,
but now we could do them all inside at once.
Yep.
So it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's definitely a kennel, with enclosures. People sometimes will say to me when they're talking to me about training, do the dogs live in the house with you? It's like, well, yes, they do, but they don't live in our living space. When you're taking in people's dogs, it wouldn't be safe to have them hang out with the owner's dog, with the trainer's dogs. Like, that doesn't make sense. Plus, it's not fair to the dogs that live there to have these strange dogs, cycle in and out of their house.
With behavioral issues.
Yeah. So, no, they don't come upstairs in our living space. Also, I try to explain to people when they find that concerning is that, when you have dogs from the outside coming in and out of your house, you have to be able to clean properly.
Yeah.
You have to be able to disinfect so that you're not spreading germs or potential illnesses, kennel cough and whatnot, from dog to dog, right? So if they're living in your house, there's no way to disinfect your home, with your furnishings. So, with all of that in mind, we set our kennel up so that was indestructible, because training dogs come in with separation anxiety and other destructive issues. So they have to be in an enclosure that keeps them safe, as well as keeps our property from being destroyed, right?
And the other training dogs in there.
Right. So
and it's cleanable, and you don't have to worry about them injuring themselves in the kennels.
Right.
So it's really important. And they don't, in my opinion, I don't think that they deserve to be in a crate, like, for long periods of time. They need to have their own area that they feel safe, that they can decompress in, that isn't just a crate.
Right. So these enclosures are like way bigger than
way
that,
bigger
right?
than
They
a
have a
crate.
nice cot in there,
It's like a
indestructible
bedroom.
cot, so they can still move around. So they're not crated when we're not with them, unless they're puppies and they need to be. So we can give them more space, but they can stay safe for themselves, safe from other dogs, and other dogs safe from them, et cetera, et cetera. We can disinfect properly. So, that's why we set it up the way we did. It's impractical to set it up with all these soft furnishings that can be destroyed and that can't be properly cleaned. So that's why we do that. When people push back on that and imagine that their dog comes to stay with us for training and they're going to be hanging out in our living room with us and our dogs, I try to explain to them why that is not only not possible, but not helpful for anybody. Like, not healthy, not reasonable.
And, like, not saying we don't have comforts in there. Like, you created that giant ottoman for them, which has been, like, indestructible because we had 2 giant breeds running around on that ottoman, and it's still super well intact. And it's also super cleanable. And then we got a nice leather couch. So they have furniture and stuff to lay on and to use. It's just cleanable and safe. And, if it gets damaged, it's not a huge deal because it's in the kennel.
Right.
So, it's important. These little things that you might not think about in your own home, it's really important to set them up for success when they do go to training, which is why we have more of a sterile environment. So then we can set them up for success for 3 weeks, and then they go home and they already have predisposition of knowing what they can and cannot do.
Right. So we have to, we're doing all the training and stuff that we normally do. We just have a much bigger space now, which makes me super happy. And then we have an attached kitchenette. That's been game changing for us.
And it's like these 2 giant glass doors. So I'm really excited in the summertime because we're gonna get one of those mosquito nets, and then we can leave the door open, and I could be inside cleaning, doing the dishes, and they can run in and out.
The glass, the doors that go to the enclosure, the outside enclosure.
enclosure. Yeah.
So you have the training room, and then you walk from there into the kitchenette, which has a full fridge and freezer, which for all of the fancy foods that the clients send to us that need refrigeration and freezing, that's been a game changer. Of course, a sink and all of that really convenient stuff for us. So that was super exciting.
And the food's in a different room, so we don't have to like worry about the temptation of them like, you know, going in there. Like if we're in there, we're watching to see if they're counter surfing, because we do have counter surfers and stuff. But it's nice to be able to bring them into the training room and shut the door and not have to worry about food getting in their space at all, unless we bring it in there.
And then from the kitchenette, we have 2 double doors, glass doors that go out to the outdoor enclosure. And that's what you're talking about. We can put up one of those flexible screens where the dogs can run in and out.
Yeah, and I could be inside doing stuff or whatever, and they could be outside in their personal enclosure, because now we have an outdoor paddock for the training dogs, and then we have an outdoor paddock for our own dogs, so they never get mixed together. So, for example, our dogs were super sick when we first moved here. Never worried about them getting the training dog sick because they were not using the same yards at all.
Exactly.
So it wasn't a big deal.
And vice versa. Training dog gets ill, it's not spreading to our own dog. So, building a kennel, in quotes, takes a lot of experience and forethought to keep the dogs not only safe and happy, but also healthy.
Yeah. And we've been around the block with all different types of enclosures throughout both of our lifetimes this is like the good medium that I feel like we've both kind of talked about.
Yeah, so it's exciting.
Yeah.
So we did all that. I've been painting nonstop, including this room.
Yep.
So this is our guest room / podcast room. We have a permanent room set up for the puppies. We're hoping for puppies in like 3 weeks.
Yep.
So we're super excited about that. And some of you might be thinking, what? None of your dogs are pregnant. Technically, one is. It's Evie. Evie doesn't live with us. She's in a guardian home. She lives with Gianna, who's a family friend of ours. And we bred her, and it looks very good. She's gained some weight when she was supposed to. So she's, as of this recording, she's about 5.5 weeks. Mm-hmm. So we should start seeing her shape change, and hopefully she is pregnant and we'll have a nice, healthy litter.
Yeah, and Gianna said she's been getting mellow, so...
Yes.
So all good signs so far.
I'm super excited for that. So downstairs, there's a room set aside just for puppy rearing, puppy whelping. And that has an attached door directly to the outside. So that's super exciting. So all of these things, when we saw this house, I was like making these calculations in my head as we were walking around it, going, okay, puppy's there, training dog's there, our dog's there.
I just remember when we were first looking at this house, we were walking around and I saw the attic. It's like a walk-in attic. So we have all that space for all the puppy equipment, anything that we don't use on a daily basis, throw it up in the walk-in attic. And then I remember going downstairs and seeing that spare bedroom, and then walking into, it was an unfinished basement that we changed into the training room. And I remember walking in there and be like, oh, this is the house. Plus, there's 2 accesses to get downstairs. So it's nice because you can do an outdoor access. So if we're having clients coming, they can park on the driveway and don't have to go into our main house. They just go down the outside stairs on the opposite side of the garage, and they can come downstairs, or they can come through our garage and there's access downstairs too, which is nice. So then I don't have to shovel over there. They can just come right through the inside of the garage and come right downstairs.
Yeah, it's an interesting house. It has a lot of staircases, and it's like 4 levels. So we're getting used to that as well, for sure.
Our legs, the first couple weeks, our legs were killing us.
The worst is when you have to take something from the basement and put it in the attic. You got to go up 4
flights of stairs.
Thank you, flights.
And they're not small flights of stairs. They're like decent, each one.
Yeah, so we got lucky. So hopefully Evie is pregnant. She would be due the end of January, beginning of February, like the first couple days in February. Gianna will take her temperature those few days prior to her due date. And once her temperature drops, she'll bring her here with us. And then Evie will stay with us through her delivery and until the puppies are about 4 weeks. Once the puppies are weaned, then she can go back home.
Yep.
So this is a new experience for us, having a dog that doesn't live with us full time come back just for puppies. So that's going to be interesting to see how she does, how well that works. It might work so well, I just might not have any dogs.
Well, with all the drama these days. Gosh.
So there's that. We bred her with an outside stud, so and a new one. He's a red merle, so we're hoping for all 4 colors.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I don't think we've had Evie's colors done. I'm not sure if she carries red or not.
Yeah.
But we'll find out.
I thought we did, but I guess we didn't.
She's been genetically screened for health, but I don't think I had her colors done. Anyway, that's exciting. And then the other big change is Twiggy. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's been like the bane of my existence these days. But yeah, so she came to the house. I think everything was kind of on edge when we moved here because everything was new and different. There wasn't a routine. We bred her before we finished the podcast, right? Didn't we breed her in September, October?
Something like that, yeah.
She didn't take. So, and she was just getting more and more miserable. She just really hates breeding and her cycle and everything. So we both agreed that we should spay her, thinking that that will help with some of her behavioral issues.
Well, because she hates breeding. She hates breeding. She hates being in heat. She hates being pregnant. She hates whelping. She hates raising puppies. She hates the entire experience. It's not uncommon to have a bitch who hates 1 or 2 of those 5 steps or whatever. And, you know, she just have to sort of suck it up and get through it. Twiggy hated every single step of that process.
Yeah. And we tried to breed her twice, and the longer you keep them intact, the more their health risk. They're at risk for their health.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so we decided mutually that let's just spay her, and hopefully this will help some of the dynamic in the pack.
Because she had been really grumpy with everyone.
Everybody.
Which, you know, now that you think about it, Soph, she's not grumpy with everybody else anymore.
She isn't. She's not grumpy with everyone else. But
all right, so let's back up a little bit. So for the last, 6 or 8 months, maybe even a little bit longer, she's been super freaking grumpy, you know, just lashing out at
redirecting
various members of the pack.
For no reason.
Well, of course there's a reason, but we don't find the reasons valid. She obviously
good
did.
Reasons to get mad.
It's never for no reason. But it's like, really? All he did was walk by you. Or, you know, all she did was accidentally bump into you. Or smell you, whatever. And she would just completely lose her shit on someone.
So we've been really taking away a lot of her freedoms because she's just been so intolerant of everybody.
It's not fair to the pack. It's not fair to her to constantly be in trouble. So then we tried to breed her. I was like, well, let's just get through one more breeding season. And she didn't take. So I was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and spay her. Well, I couldn't, you know, we had to breed her. It had to be way before that. We must have spayed her around September because we would have waited 3 months to spay her.
Yeah.
So we must have bred her maybe in June.
Well, that's what I
something.
said. I think we talked about breeding her on the podcast, and then we finished the podcast, and then it was a couple months later, and then we were like, oh, she's definitely not pregnant. And then we immediately spayed her after
So we think
that.
we spayed her maybe in August sometime. I'm going to say that. Well, whatever. I don't think it was... Well, okay.
Whatever. It doesn't really make a difference.
So we were hoping that the spaying would help her dynamic with Journey in particular. And Ruby by extension, because she'd been bullying Ruby as well. Ruby stays only in Sophie's room. She's not safe in the pack. She's made enemies of everyone in the pack. So she's always sort of lived separately in a different wing of the house. And she's 14 now.
Yeah. And on top of it, it's like this is her safe spot. And now Twiggy's going over there bullying her. And being like, you can't go in the bed. You can't go here. You can't go there.
She's 14. She
it's
just
like,
needs to enjoy her life.
Yeah. And so now it became that we've had to really separate Twiggy so Ruby can have her life somewhat normal. And the pack could have their, not this like on edge, walking on eggshells with Twiggy. But then it's not giving Twiggy a full fulfilled life.
Hold on. You're going too fast. So then it became a real problem with Journey, where she started fighting with Journey. And Journey's really non-confrontational. She really just wants to be left alone, and was quite submissive to Twiggy. And Twiggy was escalating to the point where Journey had had enough and started fighting back. And as soon as that happens, it's game over for those two females. So I probably have said this before on this podcast. There is a saying in dog breeding that males fight to breed, females fight to breathe. So in other words, males can fight over a bitch and heat like our boys were doing. How you solve that? You neuter them. You neuter them both. You have to neuter them both. You can't just neuter one. You have to neuter them both. But once that's done and the competition is no longer there because they don't have all of that testosterone and they don't have the instinct to fight over females, they're friends again. And that, fortunately, is what happened with Ty and Deacon. They became buddies again.
Yep.
That doesn't work with females. And in fact, spaying Twiggy has helped with her grumpiness. I definitely feel she feels better.
She feels better. But now, because there's no hormones,
but there is hormones in
that Journey has hormones, she thinks Journey's now even more of a threat than she was before.
Right.
And so now they want to kill each other. So that's great.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, no. There was one really bad fight, and it was worse. Probably one of the worst fights we've ever had in this house. And they wanted to literally rip each other's face off. And that was that. And now they have not been together since.
Yeah, now they can't even see each other.
No. They can't even be on other sides of the door.
No. But even if one is inside and one is outside and looks through the window at the other one, they completely lose their minds. So we've never experienced that before as breeders. However, this is a very common experience where two females just decide they don't like each other anymore. It's not that it's not upsetting, it's super upsetting.
Yeah.
Because, I have 7 dogs, you have 2. And the dog who has made herself unwelcome is your one dog.
Well, it's like both of my dogs have made themselves unwelcome. So
no, it's really stinks.
It's a bummer.
It really is. So we toyed with rehoming Twiggy. Technically, we still would rehome her if we found the right circumstance.
Yeah.
Because she has to be separated so much. So I think, though, that we've kind of gotten to a place of, we've gotten to a good system. First of all, we have the kennel downstairs. So while we had all of these boarding and training dogs, which Twiggy does very well with.
She does well with most dogs if introduced properly. It's just she's an Aussie, and there's a reason that we use the term bitch, because she is a bitchy female. And she just has a lot of things to say. And if you introduce any bitchy female to a new dog, they get all puffed up and they want to tell you who's boss. So you have to do it right. You have to introduce them correctly. And once they do, then they're fine.
Yeah, so she played with a very big group of dogs.
Huge group of dogs.
Cycling
and she
in
did
and out.
Great.
Yeah, from Thanksgiving through Christmas. So she spent a lot of time downstairs in the training room because she's such a high drive dog. And whenever we're with the training dogs, we're always active.
Playing with them, playing fetch with them, doing training with them. And she just wants to work and play fetch and eat and go to sleep. And work and play fetch and eat and go to sleep.
Yep.
So it was a great system.
She did great down there.
Yeah.
So I don't feel bad for her when she's down there with a big group, because she gets actually better interaction with you or me because the interaction is always active.
Yeah.
It's always moving. Whereas when they're upstairs, it's like, go lay down, everyone. I'm busy doing something, right? We do, of course, walk them and play with them, but not to nearly the high energy extent that happens with the dogs that visit us. So she's been doing great down there. And then she comes upstairs every other night and sleeps in your bedroom.
Yep, every other night.
Ruby will sleep in with Jacob, and Twiggy will come with you. So every other night she's upstairs sleeping with you.
Yep.
And then she hangs out in the house, depending on how active she's been downstairs. We'll then have to put Journey away, completely away, in another room, inside a crate.
Yep. And even then, it's like, girl.
Even then, Twiggy hunts around the house.
Finds her in the house.
Looking for Journey.
And then she starts fighting through the door. And it's like, dude, like, why are you looking for her?
Yeah.
So,
Twiggy's a difficult dog to rehome because she's so high drive and she takes a really experienced owner. She also can be a bit of a bully if she smells weakness. You really have to be very experienced. And there's not a lot of homes like that.
Nope.
And we're not going to give her to just anybody. And we don't want her to be rehomed more than once, So we're trying to work out a system here where she can have a full life and she can still stay here. It remains to be seen whether we can do that.
Yep. So it's kind of walking on eggshells,
But she seems, she certainly...
She seems happy and fine.
She really does. It's much harder on you.
It's more about me and like how I feel emotionally about it.
For sure, it's harder on the people. The dogs are resilient and they figure things out. And she's, even though she's downstairs a lot more now, she has a fuller life than most dogs that we know.
Yeah. And it's like, I went down there this morning and I played fetch with her. And then I have more time now that I have to make time for her because we don't have any training dogs right now. So now she's like downstairs in her own room, in the whelping room for now, until Evie goes down there. But I take her out, I play fetch with her, I work on my bike, and then I do a bunch of training with her. So now I do more training with her now than I have done with her the past time.
Right. It's more like intentional interaction than if she was up here. So that's the irony of it. I think that in some ways this setup is better for her, who she is.
Yeah.
Because she's more of a working dog than she is a layabout.
Yeah. She doesn't really want to lay about. She just whines around me. And and she comes up and she's fine in the pack, provided Journey, of course, is in another room. My concern is, of course, when Tula comes into season, right? When Tula becomes sexually mature, will she start viewing Tula as a threat? Yeah. And that might be a problem. Yeah. That being said, she wasn't raised with Tula. Tula's a very different dog than Journey. Although she is definitely submissive to Twiggy, she also is quite full of herself. Yeah. Whereas Journey is very reserved and sort of like, okay, if you want to be boss, just leave me alone. Tula's like, why do you want to be boss? I could be boss. Look at this, I'm boss. I'm the boss right now. Oh, okay. She's just a dopey, in your face, dog with lots of confidence. Yeah. Without being pushy or dominant. No, she's just happy. She's like Meadow.
Yes. Yeah. So that remains to be seen. I hope they can continue to have a relationship because
they do play.
They play nicely together.
And Tula comes down with the training dogs all the time, and they play nicely together. They play fetch nicely together. So that would be nice. I was gonna say something else about Twiggy, but I forgot. Oh, and the dynamic has changed between me and Journey. So I always thought Journey did not like me. Like Journey was always super reserved around me. Anytime I would walk through a door and I would walk too fast, she would kind of get spooked and run away.
Because that's Journey.
Yeah, it's very Journey.
She's sensitive.
I just thought we were acquaintances. I was cool with that. There's 1,000 other dogs in this house. If she doesn't have to like me. I always thought that she just thought I was an acquaintance and just, whatever.
Yeah, I think she always liked you, but maybe she wasn't really affectionate towards you.
Yeah, no, but she always ignored me and always was on the other side of the room. Now that Twiggy is not in the room with me, Journey actually really likes me. And so I think that there was some sort of a dynamic between me and Twiggy that Journey was sensing.
Yeah, every time she tried to go near you, Twiggy would run
in the middle or do something else. And I wasn't seeing it because I'm human and I don't see all the minute details. And now that Journey and Twiggy don't hang out at all, me and Journey have this lovely relationship, which is really nice.
I don't know. Do you think, is she different with you, Jacob, Journey?
I think she's warmed up, but I don't think it was because she was scared of me. I think she just wasn't comfortable. I think she's changed since she's gotten to this house.
You think she has more confidence, right?
Yeah, because even when, just I walk by and look at her, she wags her little tail.
I think it's the Twiggy thing. I think Twiggy was suppressing her.
Suppressing a lot of her, her natural ability was. I would walk past her and she would go like this. And not look at me and just kind of run in the other room or whatever. But
just
now,
so everybody knows, Journey was never like that with her mama.
Well, not
she loves me.
Yeah, which is why I was oh, she's her dog. There's no, she's one of those dogs that's a solo dog. So that's why I would never even thought twice about it. I was like, oh, she just loves mom and that's it, whatever. But now that Twiggy's not messing up the whole energy, it's like she's so much more confident.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's really interesting.
And a little bit sad.
Yeah. That like all these years she like, you know.
Yeah. But I mean,
Twiggy.
that is part of pack dynamics in general. Speaking of pack dynamics, another example is since we moved here, Jacob has been taking Meadow into his room at night. Mm-hmm. So now instead of me sleeping with 7 dogs, I sleep with 6. Meadow sleeps with Jacob, and then Ruby sleeps with you, and then alternate nights, Twiggy sleeps with you as well. So Jacob has become quite close with Meadow. So when we moved here, you and I both suggested if you want a dog to be yours in the pack, this is your opportunity. We'll be in a new house. Everything is new. So you might as well bring her into your bedroom and let her get used to it. Because, of course, they get used to sleeping in a certain place. And it takes some time. They get anxious and they sort of sit by the door because they want to go back to what they are familiar with. But if you stick to it for a week or so, then they adjust to your room. So anyway, Jacob's done that. The dynamic in my bed at night with the dogs is completely changed without Meadow. Journey is definitely more cuddly. We all sleep better. Because Meadow is so, if she thinks I'm getting up, she's waking up the whole room, running to the door or laying near me and breathing on me, which makes me insane. Even though we've worked on that tremendously, getting her not to breathe on me when it's time to get up. But now that it's perfect that she sleeps in Jacob's room because she doesn't wake Jacob up because he never gets up with her. Mm-mm. I get up with my dogs and then open Jacob's door and she comes out. So when she knows it's time to get up, she hops off of his bed and lays by his door. So it doesn't wake him up and breathe in his face while he's trying to sleep. Doesn't breathe in my face because she's in the other room. So actually it's a very interesting shift. So I guess my point is, although I feel kind of bad for Journey vis-a-vis Twiggy, that's just social dynamics in any social group.
Well, and like when, now we have this much older group of dogs, a pack in general, and you can kind of see the dynamics start to change now that like Ty's getting older and Remy's getting older and Ruby doesn't really count. Vivian's getting older. It's like the pack dynamic is changing. So like no matter how solid you think your pack is, the pack's always changing.
I mean, that's true. Like I say, again, any social group, any mammal who lives in a social group, things are going to be always changing, always shifting subtly, sometimes dramatically, depending on life circumstances and whatnot. That's part of why I love having a pack of dogs, because you're constantly seeing these very minute changes that you notice because you live with them. Every once in a while, it's a dramatic change and it's really unpleasant. Like when the boys started fighting.
Yeah.
And now with Twiggy, because it's really heartbreaking to have a dog that you're like, you can't be with the group anymore. And it's not even that she can't be with the group, because when Journey is separated, she comes into the group and she gets along fine. Mm-hmm. But because she is the instigator and the aggressor here, she's the one that pays the price, so to speak, by being separate more than Journey. Although we're very fortunate in that Journey has a very low drive. Mm-hmm. So when I say it's time to go in your crate, she happily goes into the dog room, hops in her crate, lays down and goes to sleep for 3 hours while Twiggy hangs out, with the group upstairs without an issue. So, the dogs have, I think, gotten used to this new routine. Like I say, it's harder on us than it is on them.
And she's fine going downstairs. She likes her room downstairs. She's fine eating with, playing with the training dog. She's fine coming up. She's fine. It's more of a me thing. And it's winter.
It's sad.
So I can't do my activities with her. I can't go mountain biking with her. I can't go paddleboarding with her. I can't have, our individual bonding time because it's cold out.
Right.
So she's, extra secluded. And, it's just hard because it's hard to not have your best friend, following you everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it would be great to find somebody who would really take her on and could do a great job with her, because she'd have a richer life. But the life that she has right now, honestly, is better than most dogs have in existence. It's just not the kind of life we want her to have. Yeah. We want her to have more. because she has so much potential.
Yeah. I just wish like a nice older woman who likes to do agility or like scent training and lives alone and doesn't want a husband
Because she prefers women.
because she prefers women. A nice lesbian to take her on. That would be like ideal. Because, I don't mind parting with her if it's for the best for her.
Right.
And I think that was kind of like when we thought like this was never going to work out. And we posted her on Instagram. We were like, this is never going to work out. Like, we're never going to be able to do anything with, whatever. But her life is fine. It's just upsetting for me. And if someone comes by along and is just willing to kind of like put the work in and actually try with her,
Yeah.
I have no problem letting go for her.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have a problem with it, but you'll do it. I mean, the problem is that she's a great dog. She's so smart. She's so high drive. She's so athletic. She can learn anything, do anything.
She's a perfect dog for me.
It's just this one glitch. The problem is the one glitch is like a major issue. And plus, well, for a long time there, we thought she couldn't be with other dogs in general. The more she hangs out with the training dogs of both sexes, the more I think we've come around to the fact that she's just fine with other dogs. It's a specific journey issue. And that goes back to the intact status of a breeding group. So we actually do think she'd be fine with another dog. The problem is not just any dog. So that makes us hesitant to give her to somebody who has another dog, because what if it doesn't work out?
Yep.
Then she's back again, and that's so hard
And
for
she's
her.
had a bad experience with this other dog and another person and whatever. And we've already had a couple bad experiences with her going with people. So it's like,
Yeah.
I don't want any more bad experiences and then her take those behaviors back here.
Yeah, that's just not fair to her.
So like,
So we're just in a holding pattern, I think, for now. And, in the meantime, she's getting the best life she can get, given the circumstances. And we just move on. Now that we're done with the construction for now. We still have more work to do on this house, but we're out of money. I've used the entire budget for fixing up the house. So, and the rest of the work that has to be done, which is mostly painting, and then outside, which has to wait till spring, landscaping and whatnot. So we're able to spend more time with the dogs again, get them out on a regular exercise routine, which is huge for them. Like you say, get them groomed regularly, which is huge for me, because when I have dogs that aren't well groomed, I feel like I'm not taking good care of them. And then I start to feel bad about it.
you went through a whole thing with the dogs, and like, because you were so dedicated to the house that you were really feeling pretty depressed with like
It was, because
the dogs and stuff. And
they say guilt is when your actions don't match your belief system. That's guilt. And that's really how I felt. Like, I have a very rigid belief system on what it is to be a good dog owner. And I wasn't doing that for a temporary period of time.
It was like,
because of circumstances sort of out of my control and in the end going to benefit them. But still, I didn't feel good about not spending the time and enjoying them. And it's very hard to enjoy dogs when they're fucking having diarrhea in your house every other day and you want to literally put a
and then
bullet
you
in
feel
your head.
bad because they haven't been groomed, but we don't have a tub to groom them, and we couldn't install the tub until they finished the garage and the driveway.
Yeah, it was like almost like dominoes, right? You had to
get
do this before this, before this, before this, before this, to get to your goal. And anybody who's done construction on their house knows how challenging that is. And I'm very, very driven about that stuff. So I was determined to get it done in a short period of time.
Well, and plus Thanksgiving and Christmas were coming. And
Yeah, I
we
had like a
all
deadline
these
in my mind.
dogs
Yeah.
that were coming, and we didn't have a place to put all these dogs that were supposed to be coming.
Right.
Because the kennel was supposed to be done like 3 weeks prior or something like that. So it was like last minute we got everything done in time
Just
with
in
all these
time.
dogs
Yep.
to come. So it was like stressful in general, and then the dogs weren't getting taken care of, and then they were having diarrhea, and then Twiggy, and so
Yeah, it's been a stressful few months for sure. But here we are.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think in the long run, this has been a great move.
yeah. Kennel's great. They can't hear us. We can't hear them.
So that's the update, right?
Yep.
That's everything we've been doing for the last 3 months. We're going to be back on a regular podcast schedule for the next couple of months, 2-3 months. This is our slow time for training. Hopefully we're going to have puppies, so that'll be lots of stuff to talk about.
Yep. We have a couple guests lined up.
We have some guests lined up, which I'm super excited about. Whenever we're not doing the podcast, I'm always coming up with topics like, oh, I really want to explore this topic. We just had a dog go home with resource guarding, so that's certainly a topic that we want to touch on this season. We talked a ton about regulation, maybe because of the move, emotional regulation and how much it affects everything, whether it's our emotional regulation or whether it's a dog's emotional regulation. So we want to do a topic exploring that and how important it is to sort of identify it and sort of understand how big it is, how it affects every aspect of the dog and the person. What other topics?
You had like a whole list. I'm blanking on it. See, every time we start doing the podcast, we're like, oh, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. But then when we're not doing the podcast, you're like, this. And I was like, oh, okay. I'll write these down. And then we never write them down. Did you write some of them down?
Yeah, I have some of them, but they're on my camera.
Oh.
They're on my phone, which is being used as a camera right now. Maybe I should have written them down.
Yeah, maybe.
But we didn't want to make this episode a specific episode because we had so many updates to bring everybody up to speed on what we've been doing here. But I think it's going to be a good season. I'm excited to have a room dedicated to this that we don't have to set up and break down every other day.
Yep, and have the dogs run in and out and mess things up.
We don't have to break everything down in order to have a litter of puppies because that's a totally separate room.
Yep.
We'll have episodes certainly about guardian dogs and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Our 2 breeder friends, we're going to try to get them on this month.
And then your long friend.
My longtime friend Beth, she's going to come on. We can talk about old times. What we did when we were your age, vis-a-vis dog training. So lots of topics this season. Of course, as always, if anybody listening has a topic they want us to discuss, shoot us an email or a text, and we'll certainly put that in the rotation of topics. Yep. We can usually find something to gab about for 40 minutes or an hour or an hour and a half.
Honestly, like we could just record us walking the dogs every day because this is all we talk about.
All right, so this is, let's see, where are we at? 48 minutes. That's not too bad for episode 1.
Yeah.
Kind of boring. I hope you guys weren't bored with our updates, but brings everybody up to speed. And now we have a starting point for episode 2.
Yep.
Season 3. Exciting.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you want to add? Okay. You didn't tell them that we were getting a new dog? No, I'm just kidding. We're not getting any new dog.
No. Lord.
I did tell Gianna not that long ago that we're not getting any new dogs for a long time because 9 is enough for us. But the next dog's going to be a Borzoi puppy.
Like.
What? Next week?
No, like 6 years from now.
Maybe when you move out.
There you go.
I'll get a Borzoi puppy.
Yeah, when I move out. You can do whatever you want once I leave. Jacob, do you have any requests about when she should get a dog next? Maybe when both of us leave.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I might have to get a bunch of dogs when you both leave because I'll be so lonely.
No, you won't be lonely. You'll be fine.
No, I won't. Just bought this big house. Now you have to stay here. Forever.
We'll come visit.
All right. How do we normally end these things? Don't we have a regular ending? Do we have a regular ending?
I don't think so. You just say...
That's it for today's episode of Dog for Thought. Thanks for joining us.
I have an outro clip. So.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
that's
true,
right.
yeah.
An outro clip. Forgot about our outro. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week
Yep.
on Dog for Thought. Bye. Dog for Thought is written and hosted by me, Sarah Brown, co-hosted by Sophie Brown, produced, edited, and original music by Jacob Brown. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.